and welcome to Fins TV. I'm your host, Fins Sammy AKA Fins Post on X. And I want to welcome my co host, Steve Hallett. Steve, welcome to the show.
You again. Happy Wednesday. Happy Victory Wednesday, we'll call it today. Very excited to break down what we saw last week with the against the Chargers. Talk a little bit with Matt and Eddie in a little while and see what we got coming up against the Patriots this weekend.
Great weekend. The Victory Wednesday, like you said. We're going to talk about that game. Uh, let's talk about what we're going to talk about this episode. So, on this episode, Tua gets his revenge on the media, on the pundits, on the Chargers, and on Herbie. Mac Jones better than Tua. We're also going to talk about that Sunday night football game against the Chargers. And we're going to play some Lost and Found. Where in the world is Big Fangio? Nah, we're going to talk about that, what happened to the defense, a lot of stuff, defensive line, the running game. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to start today in a minute of the highlights with the Chargers game.
Guard to center, and Tua. They lose 5. We're back to 3rd and 15. Here they go. Here they come. And on the move, Tunga Bailoa throws. It's caught by Berrios in front of Davis. He got the ball. What a catch at the 36.
But let's see how this third down unfolds.
Tunga Bailoa, hunt the block. Tua on the move, going deep, speed race. He's got Hill. He's got Hill. He beat James. What a play. Rajacoma is in the backfield. And they go to the end zone and caught. Hill, touchdown! Touchdown! The Dolphins have recaptured the lead. Here comes Phillips on a throw by Herbert, which is incomplete and no one home.
You'd have to think that's a penalty.
Intentional grounding. Offense, number 10. No penalty. Loss of down.
Second down and 20, back at the 24. Herbert to the air. Chubb. Oh, look at him. It's a party in the back. Christian Wilkins comes through. Here they come. Phillips has got him. Phillips has got him. An incredible game.
Phenomenal win for the Miami Dolphins. Great way to start this season, going on the road to get a big win.
I mean, it was a situation where we needed to go down, we needed to score in order to give our team an opportunity to be in the lead. I think our guys did a phenomenal job not losing their composure in the heat of the moment. Especially with the plays that happened prior to us getting that, thing going with that shot down sideline to Tyreek. I'm just very proud of our guys, and our defense, they only needed one stop, and that was at the end of the game. And very proud of them how they went out there. They didn't let really anything hinder them from continuing to press forward, continuing to play the things that they play. And like I said, I'm just really proud. It's always tough to come into another stadium and come out with a win. And so that's a tough team, and we're very glad that we got to get the win.
Before I talk about anything, my first question to you is what were going through your mind when you saw that blue screen during the game?
All right, so we're sitting in our patio. We have it totally decked out, Dolphins on our pool patio. My wife and I, we call it Dolphins Cove. It's phenomenal. So we've got our TV up on the wall, and our son was over. He's an Eagles fan. Everybody, the rest of us, were all Dolphins fans watching it. Luckily, we had Red Zone on a smaller TV underneath it, and Red Zone didn't go out. CBS went out. Okay. So I freaked out, and then I looked down. I'm like, we got him! But no, it was a momentary panic. I saw the Dolphins, New York City, the one who sets up the MetLife takeover. They've got their bar up there at Slattery's. Yeah. And he said every TV in the joint went blue at that same exact moment. So I can only imagine the panic when there's, 100+ people sitting around on the edge of their seats ready to scream, and that happens. But no, that was fun.
For a second, I'm gonna sound catastrophic. For a second, it reminded me of that World Series game in between the Giants and the A's. And oh no, earthquake! He can't be like, oh man. The game saw so many ups and downs, and it was a great game. Herbert played okay. The running game, the Chargers running game was the story. Last week on Fins TV, I talked about how I expected that Howard to be a factor covering Williams. He was not for the good kind of factor. He has some penalties. They were targeting him, running to Howard, throwing from into Howard. But overall, it was a great performance by the Dolphins. They never quit. Tua took and Tyreek to that team on their back, and it was a huge win.
Yeah, they really did. And I think first off, I want to start, and I think I echo almost every Dolphins fan sentiment here when I say I want Kevin Harlan calling every single one of our
Man,
games. It is absolutely incredible. He was the one calling the Ravens game last year, and it just gives me chills every time he just gets that volume up and he just calls out that Tua's on the break or he's got Hill deep or
let's
something
go
like that or
now.
Waddle. It's awesome. I've seen those highlights probably 20, 30 times in the last few days. And it wasn't until just now that I caught them when the first sack hit. And he said Wilkins got credit. Sealer was the one that hit him first. He yells party in the back. And I think we've got something going here with the defensive line where it's going to be business in the front, party in the back every time they hit the quarterbacks here. It wasn't until I just heard that there. But no, it was phenomenal game. First, the defense, we just don't know what's going to happen. First time we get an experience of Vic Fangio's defense back there. We said it last week. He's more zone, a lot more zone than Boyer, who ran, zero coverage. How many times?
Yeah.
What percentage last year? So we said there was going to be chances for the offenses to exploit that with some of it. Run defense, man, I think we'll get to that later, but the run defense really it's got to find a way to step up. I saw some excerpts from McDaniel's presser today where he said that they think they have identified that there was some of the defenders, linebackers, who are
Mhm.
trying to make plays themselves rather than playing as a cohesive unit. So I'd really like to see us come out. It's and we'll talk about the Patriots game coming up here, but run heavy teams are going to find ways to exploit us. And Eckler, not going to discount him. He's been probably one of the most underappreciated players in the entire league,
Yeah.
and he definitely demonstrated why. But the offensive line, going to talk about that again later, but I cannot say enough how I was blown away. I mean, you've got Khalil Mack on one side, Bosa on the other side, Armstead's out, fully expected Armageddon that Tua was going to end up on his back the entire game, not to get a single sack against that defensive front with our offensive line the way that that we feared they were going to be. I'm a believer for one game. We'll see how it continues to happen, but outstanding performance from a test that they were given there. And my last point before I'll stop talking on this is Tua and Hill. That connection is phenomenal. I sometimes want to say I wish he'd spread around a little bit more, but I think he hit 7 different wide receivers, 7 different
Yeah.
people that caught balls from him.
Yeah.
But Hill, it is just incredible. You can see that second year chemistry hitting. It's great to have that happening for Miami and not seeing it happening against Miami.
Yeah.
So,
I agree.
we talked last week, is Tua going to have his chance to come back here? He was absolutely dealing, and Hill was stealing souls in the defensive backfield. It was great.
Yeah. We're gonna talk more about two in the next segment and the defense and the O line, the running game, but I want to concentrate on Tyreek for this segment. Tyreek is a unique player. For me, and I'm not like a homer, but I've been an admirer of Tyreek before he was a Dolphin. For me, Jerry Rice, Randy Moss, and Tyreek Hill. Those are players that, as a wide receiver, don't do things that I've never seen other wide receivers do. Jerry Rice used to run that same slant, was unstoppable. The way Randy Moss ran to the sideline, had a burst of speed and catch those touchdowns, and Tyreek does do the both of those things so well, so incredible. So Tyreek is unique. Tyreek over 200 yards. Last week on Fins TV, we talked about the over under of 1,450 yards for the for the over under, and Matt says 1,000 700 yards or more, I think he's gonna be the one who is closest to it. He was unstoppable last week. Tyreek is just he's a machine. And going back to Kevin Harlan, I used to go post on X on Twitter a lot of times that to me Kevin Harlan is the best. Yeah, his energy. If it was for me, he would call every single Dolphins game. The way his energy, there's no way that a game can be boring if Kevin Harlan is calling the game. So
No,
it was an awesome experience to come away with it as a win, even better.
absolutely.
Well, we're gonna go next. We're gonna talk about Tua's revenge.
Most, though, is that they overcame the adversity because that's a game the Dolphins usually lose. And this is a new Dolphins team, so now they're winning it. And part of it is because of what Tua and Tyreek are able to do. But there was a lot of people that contributed. The biggest thing for me, though, is that's who Tua is. He's got to
Like Tua, they win games. Joy said it brilliantly. The Dolphins used to lose games like that. Yeah. But if you look at Tua, last 2 years, Buffalo Bills, won. Baltimore Ravens, won. Those are those games that now the Dolphins are finding ways to win.
Dolphins offense yesterday, I felt like I was watching an 11-year-old hopped up on a bag of Skittles play Madden. That's what it looked like to me. A video game.
Most passing yards week 1 in the Super Bowl era. So, Brew, I know it's week 1. It's always like it's everything too soon. But these are the big 4 here.
Can't win the
Two
Super
of these guys went to the Super Bowl. Marino went to the playoffs. Tua had 460.
Yes.
Was Tua the most impressive quarterback on Sunday?
To me, he was.
Tua was awesome.
Yeah.
Tua was awesome.
Is that when healthy, Tua's as good as anybody. Anybody. That's with zero exceptions. Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh.
I mean, I'm not a huge Tua guy, but this is the very best Tua in the National Football League.
I'll say is that it seems like, from an outsider's perspective, that he is such a great leader that he's rallying everyone around him. Yep. You see Tyreek Hill throwing his helmet, going crazy. To me, when your superstars have bought in like that, when you have a leader, that's when you really become a great team. And I saw that energy today, and I was pretty
Armstrong and Eddie Chaput. Good evening, guys.
Good evening. Good to be
here.
Guys.
Thank you for joining us. Well, what a game from Tua. Historic game from Tua. Almost passed Dan Marino's record for opening day. But I want to get your thoughts. I want to start with Matt. Matt, what do you think about Tua's performance during the game with the Chargers?
Unbelievable, right? Except it's not unbelievable. We saw something almost identical last year. And about halfway through, it was just before halftime, we call that timeout, we go down, we get that field goal, and that's when it dawned on me that it was a long time ago. Many people who are watching this may need to bring up some videos of number 13, but there was a time when the Dolphins, we felt like we were in a game, no matter what, as long as that guy was slinging the ball, right? Everybody that can hear me knows what I'm talking about. With Marino, we knew we at least had a chance. And just before halftime, he put us right downfield like that and got the field goal, and it was the difference maker, right? Mm-hmm. My thoughts on it were unbelievable, but at the same time, I've seen this before. Are we going to keep seeing it? Is this the real deal? I think so. It's exciting.
Yeah, it was exciting. And you're saying about the play before halftime. You know, kudos to Coach McDaniel because you need some big cojones to do it. I'm not gonna lie. You need to to go for it, back against the wall after a field goal and go for it. It was a great way to go. Eddie, what do you thought about Tua performance and the Chargers overall game?
I'll start with the Mike McDaniel decision with 9 seconds. We had coaches before with a minute left that would kneel down.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When we could have easily gone down the field. He's such a refreshing coach to have. Mm-hmm. But for Tua, that throw to Barrios says it all. Anybody that thinks he has a weak arm, can just, well, they can go pound salt because that was a heck of a throw.
Yeah.
On the move, he hit him. I think it was that the 3rd and 15? I believe it was, where he hit him on the sideline. That was some throw. And overall, it was a crazy game. It did feel like the Marino years where we didn't have a defense up and down, but you never felt out of that game. And that's what feels so good again, because 2 years ago we were down. It was like by 3 sometimes. And it was like, do we even have a chance in this game? But the defense stepped up big at the end. So great game by Tua. And I don't know if you guys saw that earlier today, what Tua had to say about throwing for 466 yards about his arm. That was awesome.
Steve?
Absolutely. Cocky Tua. Got to love it. And I got to say, if I've never owned a boat. I don't think I'm ever going to own a boat unless the Powerball numbers hit. And even then, I'll probably question it. But if I do, y'all can hold me accountable. It will be called Tua's Revenge. Absolutely love that. That's phenomenal. Just, I'll sail it up to the, Northeast, drive through New York harbors, flash them some hand symbols or something like that. Let's just see Tua's Revenge on the side and on the back of it.
If I get the Powerball, I'll buy it for you.
I appreciate it. That's awesome. Now you guys can hold him to that. Same, you promise.
I will.
But, I was honest last week. I think we all were, coming back into LA after last year's performance on Sunday Night Football, we really had questions. Can Tua travel? Can Tua step up? It's first week of the season. There's just a lot of question marks that we don't know the answer to. Yeah. The first drive, flawless, and then a fumbled snap, and it kind of took the wind out of my sails. I'm sure a lot of other people were frustrated.
Sure.
You don't know what's going to happen. And, they said it was an interception. I'll call it a very long punt, and thank goodness I think it was Jackson ran it out of the end zone. Thank you for doing that.
Wow.
We flipped the field with that possession. But there was some rust, but after he got that rust knocked off, he was an absolute surgeon. He threw it where he wanted to go. I've seen lots of different breakdowns. Emmanuel Acho threw some stuff out there. Orlovsky just couldn't even keep himself contained, talking about how phenomenal Tua was with his timing. And it's something else to see Tua throwing the ball a second before the wide receiver even makes the break. He's cocking his arm back, knows where he's going to throw it. And it's a testament to Tua, but it's also a testament to McDaniel and the chemistry that he has built with these wide receivers, and Tua putting in the work. We've seen countless videos from Tua's personal trainer. He's out there grinding with every single one of his wide receivers on the private practice fields, working on this timing. And then Nick, the personal trainer, Perform on Twitter/X, said, that one throw to Tyreek on the scramble wasn't a mistake. We actually saw it was almost step for step the exact pass that we saw, like they scripted it that way. But you can't script that perfect play of knowing what pressure is going to come around the edges. Tua is going to need to step up. Tyreek goes on a streak and catches it on the run to set that up. It was just absolutely a phenomenal game. Like Matt said, none of this surprises us. But you just have questions. First time we've seen him since Christmas Day against the Packers. It was refreshing, and it's something else to be able to open the season like this. We saw it last year again, week 2 against the Ravens. See it week 1 this year, and can't say I'm say it better. I'm really looking forward to more of the Tua's Revenge tour here.
Yeah. For me, it was like those old-time games when Marino had the ball. The defense was nowhere to be found. Late game, and the touchdown after touchdown, he kept coming back. He was unstoppable. There's no way to go. He just was. It's Stuart's revenge. He was so many questions from the media, the Herbert comparisons, and the Dolphins going to LA again after last year's game. He was 3 for 17, I think it was, and so much second guessing. And I remember before the game started, I saw a post of the Dolphins running out of the tunnel, and Tua was smiling. And he gave a smile, and I was, man, that guy has it today. He looks so confident. And like you said, he hasn't played a game since the Packers game on Christmas last year. So it's been a long time. We all been fans for the longest time. Matt, have you seen the performance other than the Ravens game in the last 20 years for any other quarterback that compares to what Tua did this
No,
Sunday?
no. You know, everyone that's ever played Madden, they reach that zone where it doesn't matter who Madden puts up on your schedule. You've played the game so long that your thumbs know where the button is, B, A, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's instinctual. It's no longer, you're not looking at the controller. It's instinctual.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I saw on Sunday. I saw the term off platform. Steve was just talking about that throw.
Mm-hmm.
That looked like the throw that a gamer would make because he knows what's going to happen. He knows what the D-back is going to do.
Mm-hmm.
He knows what the entire defense is going to do, and it didn't matter, right? He launched that, and the next thing you know, it's Tyreek again. Kevin Harlan's losing his mind, which I agree with you, Sam. Let's do a GoFundMe and see if we can't get Kevin Harlan to be the guy. But it is clear that if there was ever any doubt, go ahead and erase it now. Mike McDaniel, Tua, like this from now until
Mm-hmm.
the end, right? They know each other like the back of their hands, and I can see Tua going, bet. That's the call I want. Let's go. And they go out and do it. When have we seen that? It's been entirely too long, my friends.
You know, there's a really, you know, you hit on a couple points here. You know, the McDaniel Tua thing, and it's about trust. And like we haven't seen a quarterback from Miami do this literally since Marino. Maybe
Right.
Fielder, we saw a couple good games where he had Ricky behind him,
Mm-hmm.
but nothing to the level of what we've seen in the past 13 months, 12 months. But the trust that the coach has in his quarterback and vice versa from the quarterback to the coach to say, I'm going to be able to do that. And they know that they're going to deliver for each other. And I think it was interesting, the different motion that we saw. You know, it's one of those things, you know, you see the growth in McDaniel year over year, that those side motion things where Tua would just snap his hand immediately before the snap would hit, and Tyreek gets that little bit of a head start. It's not arena football, but when you're going against Tyreek Hill, he might as well have an 8-yard head start,
Yeah.
and that cornerback is like, oh, damn, I'm about ready to get my doors
Yeah.
blown off. And so that was great. And then, you know, last point here, just on the Tua's revenge thing, it's interesting to see the Monday morning gushing over what we just saw our quarterback do. And if you flash back to last week, the Good Morning Football crew, everybody picked the Chargers. Nobody gave them a chance.
Yeah.
And then now we got Peter Schrager, all, you know, Tua's my guy. Colin Cowherd, man, that guy speaks out of both sides of his mouth. I think within the same segments, probably 5 minminutes apart from each other.
You are a gentleman, sir. Speaking about both sides of his mouth, you're a gentleman.
Yeah, so he's something else. You know, I heard him today, and he said on that, Tua's not my guy. Well, at least he's honest with that, because Tua's not his guy. Because today I caught him just in time to saying that Tua can't do anything other than over the middle, and the Patriots are going to shut down the middle. But I'm really curious, the couple deep sideline passes that Tua was able to, you know, uncork, you know. It's narratives. I don't even think that Cowherd watched anything other than the highlight clips that we just saw, and he ignored the fact that he hit Tyreek 40 yards downfield, off balance, on the run, in stride, whatever.
Well,
To his revenge.
Yeah, we're here on Fins TV. We keep receipts, and last week you saw. I made sure that everyone saw what the national media was saying about Tua, the doubts, the complete doubts, over and over. And you see all this week, everybody saying, is he the favorite for the MVP? Eddie, what are your thoughts? Do you think he's a long-term MVP candidate? That's my question to you, Eddie. What do you think about that?
Sustainability, yep. I believe he can sustain. I saw play calls in the first game that they didn't do last year. I was going to bring it up on last week's show. I'll mess his name up. So I'm just going to call him Easy E.
There you
I
go.
saw it preseason. Ekazama, I think. I saw him in the
Ekazama.
preseason use him kind of like the Debo Samuel, and I loved seeing it. So it's going to be another little wrinkle. If he goes in motion, are they going to throw it to him,
Yeah.
or are they going to hand it to him, or is he going to spin out of there and throw a pass? It's great. It's just going to open the field up for Tua even more. Not that he needs it with them receivers, because I really can't say in the last 10 years that there's a better receiver than Tyreek Hill.
Yeah. The last year said that the reason why Sukama was not playing because he was going through a change of position, and we think we talked about that before here in Fins TV that Sukama is supposed to be this offense Debo, and it worked. He had some pretty good penalty he got over the middle that gave us a late field goal. That was a game changer for me. So that going to halftime with the lead, that for me that was huge.
Yeah.
Well, next we're gonna go to some lost. Rough game last week. Even though they when they really mattered, they took over, they sacked Herbert, and they basically sealed the game. But I want to talk to you guys about this week. Coach Fangio, lost or found? What do you think? Is he somewhere to be found, or those late sacks during the game do not count, and we should expect better from defensive coordinator be Fangio? Steve.
Yeah, I won't call him lost. I seriously, the guy's 65 years old, and he could seriously kick my ass. So I wouldn't call him lost. No, I have enough faith in him that first week out, trying to get some things straight, combine it with what I'd said earlier, Coach McDaniel identifying that, some of the players were trying to do their own thing. We really didn't see very much of David Long Jr. on the field. We saw a lot of Van Ginkel, and I think maybe that's just situationally trying to see what they can play with. I'm not going to call them lost, but I am going to say that I was a little bit concerned for about 55 minutes of that game. Still waiting to see more consistent pressure on the quarterback, and I'm really, really hoping that we can flip the script on the turnover battle that we've been losing the last 2 years. So not ready to call them lost, but they're creeping over the fence and escaping into the backyard.
Matt, what are your thoughts on the defense and defensive coordinator Big Fangio's performance to the last week's game?
What if I told you that last Sunday was essentially a preseason game, right? We've never, ever seen the entire team, all starters, on the field at once. So you go out there and please, let's not give the Chargers the short end of the stick. It's a good ball club over there, right?
And a great offensive line.
Right.
Not great, but a really, really good offensive line.
So is it possible that the Chargers hit the Dolphins in the mouth, and it took us a bit of time in a pseudo preseason game that these guys are playing together for the first time, live action, right? What mattered to me the most, Steve, you just said it, the last 5 minutes. If you look at those last 5 minutes, did that look like a preseason game to you? Not to me. It looked like a veteran defense that knew exactly what to do to make the stop at the right time. Kader Kohu nearly pulling off a safety on Herbert. I'm still not sure that it wasn't a safety, right? Okay.
I thought it was a safety, but yeah.
All of a sudden, Jalen Phillips, Seiler, Wilkins, that's what we expected to see for the first 55 minutes, as Steve alluded to. But if you look at those last 5 minutes, so that's what the hubbub is about. That's how I saw it. I'm with you, Steve. I absolutely was sitting there going, I'm ready when you are, guys, But one more thing about this, Herbert went for just about 200 yards. Let's give him his props. That's a great quarterback, right? That's a great quarterback. He didn't do that because our defense was awful. Something was a factor there. So it's absolutely not lost. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's see what they do against Mac Jones this coming weekend, Sunday night, national television. It's what we've been waiting for. That team is that defense, Fangio, the whole deal. They're definitely finding their way, in my opinion.
Totally agree. Eddie, what are your thoughts on the coordinators will be Fangio on the defense?
I figured it would take 3, 4, 5 weeks to get into a rhythm. Figure out. Fangio still has to figure out which players are going to fit. I don't think he's a big fan of David Long because he said some off-putting comments in the offseason about him, like where he'll flash and then all of a sudden he'll disappear. So I think he really loves Van Ginkel, which is good because I have his jersey sitting right over there.
You were rocking the jersey last week, I think, right?
Yes, I was. Davis today. But I think it'll take a few weeks. I'm going to pound the table. They need Akeem Hicks or Sue to back up. They need somebody to come in for rest because I like Peely. I just don't think he's ready yet. And they need some kind of depth to swap in and out. But also, if you watch that last drive when he had a minute 30 left or 40 to try to go score a field goal against us, Fangio hid Bethel on that second sack. He hit him behind Steeler. I mean, right behind him. And he came around that corner, and there was nobody there to stop him. And it flushed Herbie, and there was Phillips to clean it up and ball game.
Yeah,
it'll work out over time.
Well, at least we can say the defense was clutch.
Yep.
If you can have it either way, you can have a defense that is stout defense, and when they really, really matter, they go fluff and they throw out the game.
A couple years ago, we lose that game.
Yeah, but this defense was clutch when it really, really mattered. And you can see, I was talking pre-show with Eddie, like it was like that Muhammad Ali rubber dope. They got him in the ropes, they let them sleep, and just before the game was over, 2 sacks, let's go, game over. So they had a plan. Since they won the game, it seemed like it worked. The run defense needs a lot of work, like you said before. Probably the linebackers need to do a better job of clocking the middle. A nose tackle will be nice, but right now I don't think they have anyone that can fit that description. So we have to wait and see. But there's still space to grow. So hopefully the defense pick it up, and we have a good defense by the end of the year.
Rope-a-dope. I love the theater, but they can't do that to me 17 games out of the year. My heart can't take it.
I won't make it.
Well, either that, only if Tua has thrown like for 466 every single game. So if that happens.
Yeah.
Well, that you will know that's going to happen. Next,
I'll be doing one of the shows from a hospital.
We all will.
Next, Austin Jackson. Lost and found. Eddie, what are your thoughts on the defensive line? I thought Austin Jackson played superbly. Lamb played great. Connor, if you don't have that competition during training camp and repeat it with Tua, those fumble snaps hurt, but at least it wasn't as catastrophic. Defensive line played pretty good. The run game, we'll see on the next topic. Talk about something of the run game, but the blocking. The run blocking needs a little bit of work, but I want to know your thoughts about defensive line and especially Austin Jackson, Eddie.
I think they played extremely well. They barely touched him. I mean, he had to move a couple times, like on the pass to Hill. That was awesome, but they kept him clean up the middle, which is very important. But Austin Jackson looks like a different player, and I think we finally have the best backup tackle we've had in years in Lamb. And I was completely wrong about the Butch Berry hire because all I heard was from Denver players how bad he was, and they were happy he left. But, well,
I know you was worried. We talked about that.
Yeah, we can see what Denver is, and they're still the same with that line. So,
yeah. Matt, how about
but
you?
I was very impressed with the line.
Yeah. Matt, how about you?
So I am of a different mindset. I don't lose it when our guy gets sacked. I have faith in people who know more about this game than I do. What was impressive to me was guys that most of America have never heard of kept Tua off of his butt. He got touched twice, I think. And Austin Jackson, oh my God, dude, that's what we've been waiting for as the number 18 pick in his draft. He clearly has the physical build. He's got all the talent in the world. Is it a matter of coaching? I tweeted out yesterday, it's almost as if coaching matters, right? And Eddie just alluded to that with what was going on in Denver. When they complain about the coaching and they're glad they're gone, sometimes that's because it's the players who were trash, right? And now we see that, well, it's funny, you guys are still trash. So there's so much that goes into this sport that requires all 11 players to work as one. And on Sunday, Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, I'll admit, I was a little bit nervous. This might not be a good day for Tua. They kept him clean. They kept him clean. And one last thing about that line, and it goes to the maturity of the quarterback. Did you watch him maneuver? Eddie just mentioned it a moment ago about him stepping up in the pocket. He maneuvered like he knew where everybody was going to be. That is the sign of maturity. That's a sign of knowing what's going on. Every player, not just your line, but every player on the other side of the line. That's a testament to him as well. So I love the fact that Austin Jackson is getting his props. I love the fact that Kendall Lamb is getting his props. I understand that we had a little bit of an issue with the snaps. It's almost as if you worry about it, they happen, right? I'd be willing to bet there was more than one bad snap this past Sunday in the NFL outside of LA, right? So I was so impressed with that offensive line, and it is an absolute foundation for them to build on going forward.
Steve, how about you? What are your thoughts on defensive line? Austin Jackson, Kendall Lamb, the whole deal.
I mean, it's one of those things during the game. I'm not watching the offensive line. There's too much other exciting stuff going on when our offense is on the field. But over the past couple days, you see the clips come out. I saw some of Austin Jackson and how he moved against Bosa, Joey Bosa. He absolutely owned him on so many of those plays, and it's not like he got bull rushed back. He did anything. He was quick on his feet, set his position, threw Bosa off of his position and tossed him to the ground a couple times. Stuff that you just question, where has he been all this time? So, it's coaching. You're right, Matt. Coaching matters. I think if you run back the reel from the past couple Fins TV episodes, I've questioned whether Austin Jackson has it. I've said, hey, when is that light bulb going to come on? Well, maybe it has come on. I'm not going to claim victory after 1 week.
Right.
A phenomenal test, though.
Yeah.
And he passed. He passed with flying colors, and across the offensive line, Isaiah Wynn, fantastic. I think 0 pressures, 0 quarterback hits. Kendall Lamb, phenomenal. Hunt, didn't hear his name the entire game, which, as I always say, if I don't hear your name as an offensive lineman, chances are you had a hell of a game. So the entire offensive line, it has me feeling like a monkey saying, hey, I'm a believer almost. It's amazing to be able to say that. But again, second year in the system, new offensive line coach. It's interesting to see, not seeing it in the running game. So it would be really interesting to see how we get that to develop over the next couple of weeks. But exceptional play.
Yeah, I don't want to sound like the voice of reason, wink, wink. That's an inside joke. And say that I told you, but a couple of weeks ago I said that I expected the offensive line to surprise a lot of people. And even the first person to be surprised was me. I could not believe that what they were doing. The Tua, they give Tua so much time to climb that pocket, like the Dan Marino. They said there's a fundamental difference during the game. You can see even with a a good offensive line that the Chargers, Herbert had problem, stepping into the pocket. Tua had confidence in his offensive line. They seemed prepared. They were ready, and when it really mattered, they were there. The running game, we'll talk about that the next topic. But defensive line overall, and Austin Jackson, I think it looked great. The exchange on the handoffs and the fumbles. Hopefully, that's a recurring problem, and hopefully that's something that hopefully they're going to work out. But overall, it was a very good performance. I could not be happier about that.
Absolutely.
Well, next, the Dolphins. I'm gonna start with you, Eddie. I thought the running game was expected more after the preseason. I, I want to believe that the reason why the running game or was almost the system was because it was such a tight game, and the running game probably is going to be more useful on the game. They take a lead and they want to hold the lead, and they're going to run out the clock and they run out the other team. But the running game and the status of the running backs' health is in question now. So, what's your thought about the running game and the running back, Steve?
I think it's hard to commit to a running game when you have so many shiny toys out there. When you can throw,
we talked about that before with Steve and I talked about it before that.
yeah, and I'm going to count the Easy E runs. They were good. Their one got called back for holding, which was, well, but
yeah.
I think they had to pass in this game. They had to just to make sure they stay. It's kind of like they knew their defense. They were going to give up points, so they had to keep up on that scoreboard. I mean, they ran it down near the goal line better than I expected with Mostert when he scored the touchdown. I think his knee is hurt. He missed practice, but they said it might just be maintenance today. But hopefully it gets going in the next couple of weeks because they're going to need it, especially when bad weather hits.
Yeah. Matt, how about you? What do you thought about the running game and the running backs?
I think this coaching staff is going to play the game based on circumstance. It's an old adage, and it's been tried and true for decades in football at every level. In the NFL, if you want to neutralize a strength of your opponent, you have to do something specific. And in the case of a team that has two complete monsters on either end in Bosa and Mack, the answer is you run at them. You run at them and you negate the pass rushing ability of those players. Mike McDaniel said, "Screw that! I'm throwing it," and he did. And he did to four. What did Tua say today? 466. That's all I got to say. 466. But let's take a look at what Eddie just said a moment ago. They were kind of playing that way because they had to. They didn't have a lead that they could grind out the clock. They were playing because of the circumstances in that manner. And so I'm not worried about the running game. The running game in the preseason showed some really good life that we saw in the first couple, which made people say McDaniel might be looking at running it more, preserve Tua, prevent him from being exposed to anything. McDaniel came out and said, "No, fam, we're go deep," and he did it for 466. So let's see what the Patriots come up with this week. You might see a little bit more of that running game. I know Wilson is out for 3 more weeks. And Mostert, I believe it's a maintenance thing, like Eddie said. I'm not worried about the running game. It's all about circumstances. We'll see it when we need to see it.
What are you, Steve?
Well, you guys are talking me off the ledge. I was ready to slap the offensive backfield on a milk carton. Call the police. It was really. It's one of those things like you saw it in the preseason, and you think, oh my God, we're about ready to start committing to the run game. But you guys are 100% right here that if it's working, why change it? And the bottom line is it worked. It worked over and over and over again. So if they were putting pressure on Tua too much and they were just running all out on him, then absolutely change it up some. The couple runs that they did make, they did get outside the tackles a couple times, but it just wasn't working for us. So I know that McDaniel has the ability to use his running backs situationally. We might see it next week. We could see it, in subsequent weeks. Who knows, what's really going on in Coach McDaniel's head on Monday morning when he walks in, starts looking at film to start prepping for that week. And I think on Wednesday they start their install. Who knows what we're going to see coming up Sunday night? But it was lost this week, but I'm sure we're going to find it and we're going to see some good games where we're running the ball.
I'm concerned about the health of the running backs. It's been a concern of mine for a long, long time. Mustard, probably a day off, a veteran's day off, hopefully. But time will tell. Time will tell. We'll see what happens. Next,
Eddie.
Eddie.
What'd you want?
Yeah, man. We never had the ball on offense when we had the lead.
Yep.
So he might have ran if we had the lead. The only time we had the ball with the lead is the kneel down. So that could have been a part of it too. That was the only thing I forgot to say.
100%. Absolutely.
Well, next, I can't wait for Sunday night football.
I think Mac Jones is better.
Omar,
I know.
Omar, tell him the hell he's in for. Come on.
All right. Go ahead. Let's hear this. This.
If you put Mac Jones in Miami, I think you'd get the same results, maybe better.
Who was holding the clipboard for Tua back when they were at Alabama?
Oh, but he was.
No. I'm talking about now. If you put Mac Jones in Miami.
Okay. Well, Tua still develops as well.
Yeah. No. I get that. I totally get that. It's an opinion.
Okay.
I think Mac Jones is probably more accurate than Tua. I don't think he has the same arm strength. I think Tua has a stronger arm, believe it or not. I don't think Tua is accurate. I think that obviously Mac Jones is more. I don't think he's terribly accurate. Watch that Steelers game last year. He was a friggin' disaster.
No, that was a bad game. He played.
I've never seen anything like that from Jones. But Jones has a noodle arm, so that's a problem. But he's also a friggin' genius. And they're probably both about the same level of mobility. So potato between those two. Really, it's potato.
And speechless. I don't know if I'm speechless because something so dumbfounding. I'm gonna be a gentleman here, or just because he's such a homer. Any of you want to take it up? Please take it off my hands.
Somebody, one of you two, please start.
First of all, who is bringing Omar Kelly onto their podcast?
Well, it was the other way around. Joran was on Poop Tart and podcast. Oh, Poop Tart. My pardon, but I'll be a gentleman.
So
podcast.
So that's my first question. And my second question is when did Omar Kelly become the voice of reason? He actually, I saw that clip before we went on live today, and Omar actually had legitimate responses to this knucklehead's comments. More accurate than Tua? A stronger arm than Tua? What did Tua say today? 466. That's all I got to say. 466. He kept repeating it as if he needs to pound it in their heads. And one more thing. Show me you don't know anything about other teams in the NFL without telling me you don't know anything about other teams in the NFL. No, the Dolphins aren't national TV media darlings. They're not the Steelers. They're not the Rams. They're not those cornerstone franchises that are always on Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football. They're not. Times might be changing, and I'll give him the opportunity to see that and maybe change his mind down the road. But if you're going to sit there on your base, on your platform, and make the statement that Tua doesn't have the arm strength and that Mac Jones is a better quarterback than Tua is, you clearly don't know what you're talking about. You've clearly been blinded by 20 years of number 12. Number 12 should go in the Hall of Fame today. That pains me to say it, but it's true. You watch that guy for 20 years and you know what greatness is. Take the blinders off. Mac Jones.
No, I can't. I seriously can't. If that was around the horn, he would have had the mute button slapped on him for the rest of the episode. He'd never come back on. He would be on a milk carton because he would be lost. I seriously, it like you just said, Matt. It's almost as if so many of these people don't watch tape. They don't watch other games other than the 2 times a year that Miami plays New England. I'm gotten to the point it's tough because I take a lot of the stuff that I listen to personally, even though I'll sit here on one side say they're just they're national media, nobody ever holds them accountable, which they don't. Don't listen to them, and then I'll be driving down the road and I'll be fuming listening to the same people talk trash
We're all
about the
guilty
Dolphins.
about that.
Yeah, so other than Rich Eisen, I absolutely love him when he talks because the only time I ever hear him talk is when he's
I used
talking
to
about
love
the
that guy,
Dolphins.
but not anymore.
No,
He's so
so
I just can't.
I think it's absurd. It's to get clicks, same type of stuff we see on Twitter X, that if anybody wants a lot of impressions, just go on the Dolphins and say something bad about them because their interactions are going to go through the roof. I don't think that there's any truth to it at all, and we'll see. This weekend we're going to see how it goes.
And Eddie, help me out here. Any thoughts? Because I'm gonna rant and I'm trying to control myself.
First off, he brings up a game from last year, the Pittsburgh game, where Tua was coming off an injury, I believe, right? That it was his first game back.
His first game back.
He won. And he's going to say he never saw Mac Jones play a game that bad. Well, I remember a game he played in Buffalo where he had 0 yards passing. And they can say what they want. Josh Allen had 200. I mean, I think New England, I don't know if New England won or lost that game, but it doesn't matter. Mac Jones has had so many bad games. He's been replaced by Billy Zapp or Zappy, who they cut.
That's awesome. That's a good point.
And they brought him back in. It's absolutely ridiculous to say Tua is not accurate. What is he watching? He's the most accurate quarterback I have seen. And now I'm going to go here in a minute. He said, "Oh, well, put Mac Jones on Miami. He'd be the same thing." Well, did anybody see Patrick Mahomes the other night without Kelsey, Hill, and a good receiver? He looked pretty average too. So are you going to say that about every quarterback? That's an idiotic take from an idiotic fan base or whatever that guy is. And I have to stick up for Omar. He almost spit his water out when that guy said that.
The sense of entitlement for the guys out there is something that blows my mind. It blows my mind. You can see he was basing his opinion, almost verbally said it, on one game. Like you said, when Tua's coming back from injury. The comparison is just simply absurd. Absurd. That's a guy who was unprepared. That's the epitome of being a homer. I personally, I wish we had some more reporters like that over here. I would love to have some homers defending Tua every single day. They don't. You can see Poopar over there. Poopar is constantly bringing down Tua. Omar Kelly is a flip flopper. Now he's a Tua's partner, and he used to say that Tua. A lot of diminishing things about Tua, but that turnaround was just unprepared. So let's move over that guy. It needed to be said because I needed to rant about it, and I appreciate you helping me out, giving me therapy because I was so mad I could not control myself. But let's talk about the game. Is this supposed to be a tough game for the Dolphins? Yeah, this always is when they go to New England. We've been pretty good over there for the last couple of years, but it's a Sunday night game. It's the Belichick must be prepared for Tua. He's 0 and I think it's 0-4 against Tua, right? Or 3 or 4. 0-4 against Tua. So Belichick needs a win, to cement his legacy and all that crap. So what are your thoughts on the game? I want to start with Steve. Steve, what do you think what's going to happen to Sunday?
I think that the 0-4 thing is always in the back of their minds. And the trick of any head coach showing up on Monday, looking at the opponent's film and starting that game plan, and it's going to start with every single team that we face this year, is going to be how do we stop the Dolphins from doing what they did last week?
Yeah.
What has made them successful? How can we take that away? We know that they're going to go out there. We know that their defensive front, not as well known as the Chargers front, but Patriots always have a tough defense. Always. It's Belichick's stamp, his legacy, frankly, for how well he's put together the defensive side of the ball. And I think that Miami's going to have a tough task ahead of them. I think bringing stuff that's out of our control. I know the Hurricane Lee is going to be passing by that area 12 hours before the game, something like that. So you don't know the condition of the field. So that stuff's going to have to factor into what could happen. But I really think that McDaniel is going to have the team ready. I think that he's going to show some different things we haven't seen before. And I agree with, especially how Matt had put it, that was a preseason look for 3 quarters. Let's see how Vic rolls out the defense with more knowledge of what his team can do under his system. And I think that we're going to definitely come out with a win.
Matt, what are your thoughts on these Sunday games and the Patriots?
So we know that Belichick is defensive minded. He's great. He's a Hall of Famer. He'll have his team prepared, but they have to start off by figuring out how they're going to stop Waddle. Let's not forget Jalen Waddle's on this team, guys. They got to figure out how they're going to stop those 2 speed demons. But there's something that's underrated about this Dolphins team, and I was a little bit nervous about it before the San Diego game. Yes, I said San Diego. They'll always be the San Diego Superchargers.
I do it all the time.
There is something that I was worried about a little bit, and that was the tight end production. And look at what Durham Smythe did. Very under the radar, kept plays alive, kept drives alive. And in my opinion, if they try to focus too much on the guys on the outside, Durham Smythe might have himself a pretty big game on Sunday night. I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that the Dolphins come home with a W.
What about you, Eddie?
I believe McDaniel's going to change up this game plan from last week a little bit. Okay. I completely agree with Matt. I think they're going to use a middle, but not with slants. I think they're going to go with Smythe and Berrios a little bit more. Because Berrios was wide open a couple times. If Tua had time on that one, he would have hit him down the sideline for a touchdown. There's no doubt about it. I think they'll focus on the run a little bit more because you have to against that team with Matthew Judon. He's as good as Bosa at rushing a passer. So you got to run at him, wear him out a little bit. I think the defense is going to come to play. I don't see, Mac Jones throwing for 300 this week. I think they'll have a very different game plan, and I think they'll come out on top. I know they'll come out on top. But.
Well, to me...
Oh, and also, Alec Ingold is a tight end, too.
Yeah.
You might as well count him as a tight end. He was putting people on their butts.
He's a bowling ball.
And he's
our Travis Kelce. That was going to be my next point. To me, he is our Travis Kelce in this offense.
Smythe played well, and so did Alec Ingold, which he always does, but that was awesome.
That was a great point. That was going to be my first point that you took it away from me.
All right, rewind that.
Ingold's going to be a huge factor. If you ask me, Ingold's going to be a huge factor in this game. The short passing game, this is going to be a completely different game. A lot of motion with Tyreek, but a lot of short passing game. Probably a lot more running the ball. Raise your hand if you don't expect the Dolphins to win this game. The Dolphins are going to win this game. That's the expectation. I'm pretty sure the Dolphins are going to come on top of this Sunday. Well, let's go to the big finish. Guys, just before we go, I want to have your thoughts on the overall league. You have in the Sox. I did my top 5 power rankings, very short list. Top five is enough. I have the San Francisco 49ers at number 1, the Dallas Cowboys at number 2, the Philadelphia Eagles at number 3, our Miami Dolphins at 4, just because the defense could have done better last week. We probably 2 or 3 if that happened. And number 5, I had the Baltimore Ravens, just by a smidge. How about you, Steve?
I was going to say you took my notes, and I was going to be really upset. So I've got everything else matched up for
I
you
took
there.
the Kerber, but you know.
San Fran and Dallas went on the road and totally ripped the doors off some teams that had some high expectations. So San Fran, Dallas, Philly, Miami, same exact reason. I have Kansas City in there because they will get Kelsey back.
Mm-hmm.
Andy Reid will figure it out over there. So I expect them to be around sniffing around the top 5 all season long. So I'm going to keep them there.
Matt, do you have any thoughts on the top 5 of the overall of the NFL?
Yeah, it's an easy choice, like Steve said. San Francisco, boy, did they smoke Pittsburgh? And Pittsburgh's kind of a media darling, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not talking about historically, but it's almost like that's being pushed on the fans that Kenny Pickett is the guy. Did you happen to see Kenny Pickett get tackled in one particular sequence the other day?
Where's the spotter?
Yep.
Mr. Commissioner, where's the spotter?
No way he didn't have a concussion.
No way.
No way. No way on Monday he was able to recall the plays like Tua couldn't after Christmas Day. No way.
Exactly.
So I think that I'm going to go Kansas City as number 5. We'll throw the Cowboys in there at number 4. Who do I want to put in at 3?
The Eagles.
It's really got to be the Eagles. They deserve it. If Kansas City's up there, the Eagles are up there too. Number 2, your San Francisco 49ers. And you didn't expect anything less from me.
20-0, Matt.
The number 1 team in my power rankings for week 2 of the NFL season, your Miami Dolphins.
On their way to the second undefeated season in NFL history, according to our friend Matt Armstrong. Eddie, how about you?
I have San Francisco 1, Dallas 2, 3 Miami, 4, I think Kansas City will come back and have a great year. And right now, number 5, I have Cleveland.
Cleveland had a great game.
Did you say Cleveland?
Yes. Did you see what they
did? Somebody check on Eddie.
They have a really good roster. They just didn't put it together.
Yes. But you have to understand, nobody's ever said that about Cleveland.
I'm trying to be different.
I
love the guts to call that.
30 years or something. The Cleveland Browns have never been.
I also think Philadelphia is going to drop this year. I don't know why. I just have a feeling they're not going to be as good. That's just my thought.
I like the fact that this week Eddie had the boldest statement of the week. That's really good.
I love it.
I'm going to wait 30 seconds from each this off script. It will be in the run for me not to talk about 30 seconds from you on the Aaron Rodgers situation. What happened? They had some really great expectations, and they come out like Apollo Creed living in America, and he got punched out like Drago did to Apollo Creed. What are your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers? Hopefully, though, he comes back. It's a loss for the whole league. I have my thoughts on Aaron Rodgers as a person, but he's a great player. The Jets and any team deserves better than what happened. So I'm going to start with Matt. Matt, what you thought about the Aaron Rodgers situation?
I remember when we drafted Ronnie Brown, number 2 in that draft, and Aaron Rodgers was sitting there, and it was very easy back then to think if he was any good, he wouldn't have dropped.
Mm-hmm. That's the Drew Brees, Dante Culpepper year also, right?
Yes, it was. Yes, we picked Ronnie
Alex
Brown
Smith was 1 and Ronnie 1 was number 2. That year we signed Dante Culpepper instead of Drew Brees. Great year, guys.
Yeah, that was fantastic. And Aaron Rodgers went 25th, I think.
Yeah, he kept dropping and
then spent the rest of his career taking it out on everybody, especially the poor Chicago Bears. It's always sad to see a phenomenal Hall of Fame type person go down like that. It may not feel that long ago, but we all saw 13 go out in a very inglorious way. Maybe not with injuries, but 62-7 might as well have been a kick in the nuts for this Dolphins fan. I'm going to say this, and then you're not going to believe it, but I genuinely feel bad for that fan base. They had huge hopes, and you can't fault them for having those hopes. He gave them a legitimate chance. We'll see if he comes back next year.
Eddie, what are your thoughts on the whole Aaron Rodgers situation?
I feel terrible for Aaron Rodgers. He's always been one of my favorite players. He's somebody I rooted for, not against Miami, of course, but I've always loved the way he's played, and feel bad for him. I feel bad for the decent Jet fans. There's some that were happy last year when Tua was hurt, and they DM'd me when Jalen Ramsey got hurt, and it's them. That's karma for you, but I don't wish an injury like that on any player in the NFL. It hurts the NFL. It really does. It takes a great quarterback out of a big market, and they have a great defense. It's going to hurt them, and I do feel bad for their fan base.
Steve, very briefly, I know you probably got to go, so what are your thoughts?
No. I mean, how many primetime games did the NFL give to the Aaron Rodgers Jets? 8?
Too many.
Something like that. So now we get the pleasure of seeing Zach Wilson roll out there for all those until the flex games come around.
Probably Jabroni Brissett. I'm sorry, probably Brissett will trade it or sign with the speculation, but might happen.
We don't know, but I mean, it would have been much more rewarding to have been able to beat the full strength Aaron Rodgers-led Jets. The victories will feel no less satisfying when we do it without him. It definitely hurts the league to not have him up there. I'm a little bit less gracious to the media who's just spent 20 out of 24 hours out of the day talking about nothing but the Jets.
Mike Greenberg.
The entire ESPN network, it seems. Yeah. So, I mean, it's a very tough injury. I have lots of questions as to whether or not a 39-year-old can do what Marino himself just said, that he struggled. 32, 33 years old, 32 years old. He said himself he struggled. So I think it's going to be interesting to see the prospects of that coming along. But again, the game goes on. The Dolphins will relish in those victories either way. So
when I saw it happen, it reminded me so much of that day when Dan Marino went down in Cleveland. He went down, he moved his legs, and
you knew it.
Yeah. You knew something wasn't right, what probably was going to be something big. It's a huge loss for the game. Some Jets fans, of course, there are good fans on every fan base. We're guilty of that too. There's probably a lot of them deserve better. They're victims of the overhype from the media, most of them. Aaron Rodgers certainly deserves better. Any athlete that puts so much into it deserves better. The Jets, Breece Hall, like I said a couple of weeks ago, he's a beast. As long as he's running the ball, he's going to have a chance. Probably Dalvin Cook could be in the next Lost and Found, but that's another story. But, hopefully he make a full rehab, and we'll see him again someday. But it is what it is.
We had to play him last year twice with Skylar Thompson, so I can't feel,
Yeah, they took Brissett on the first game. I'm sorry, Bridgewater in the first game and first play, and that was it. Well, guys, I'm gonna thank you again it was a nice talking to you as always. Please, if you're watching this video, like and subscribe. We're gonna see you next week on the next episode of Fins TV.
Thanks a lot, guys. Fins up. Do it.
Fins up.
Miami has the Dolphins, the greatest football team. We take the ball from goal to goal like no one's ever seen. We're in the air, we're on the ground, we're always in control. And when you say Miami, you're talking Super Bowl. 'cause we're the Miami Dolphins.